Yep.
All right, let's get to Tanaka and where we stand with Tanaka. Fans want to know, so bring them up to date on what you know about Tanaka,
well,
if anything.
I heard one of your callers say, what's taking so long? Well, this is a different type of free agency, Mike, because there's a deadline, and it is free agency. It's free agency with an extra $20 million attached to whatever.
I think Yankee fans felt that this was a no-brainer, and they're finding out it's not a no-brainer.
Well, it is to some degree. It's a no-brainer for the Yankees to pursue the guy, give him a whole lot of money, and for the player to have interest.
But in the old days, the Yankees used to be the only guy in town, and they won it and goodbye, and now it's a different process.
There are a lot of teams. All you got to do is look at the business side of this and look at all these teams that have announced their TV deals, these mega TV deals, both national and especially local, that is putting money into other teams' pockets. There are a ton of teams right now. There are at least 10, maybe more teams that could afford to sign Masahiro Tanaka to a $100 million plus contract right now, and could use him and could afford him. And I think that's what you're seeing is you're seeing a lot of teams right now interested, and the agent owes it to the player to take advantage and get the best contract he can get.
Absolutely.
How do you do that? By taking it to the deadline. See, that's why it's different than normal free agency. This isn't Robinson Cano or anything else where you kind of wait for the market to develop and say, okay, here it is, Robbie. This is as good as it's going to get. There's a deadline. As long as there's a deadline, you're not going to get your best deal until you get closer to that deadline, which is January 24th.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it had to be that way. I mean, somebody could have come in with a preemptive strike. Nobody has yet, though. I mean, somebody could have tried to blow all the competition out of the water, and nobody did.
But you're not getting, the agent's not doing his duty if he's not letting other teams play into it. If it was true that if you only knew that there were 2 or 3 teams involved.
But if you hit the jackpot and if somebody comes in with a monster deal, if somebody comes in right away with a mega deal, I mean, you pretty much know, hey, listen, you know what? Here we are. Here all you got to do is announce publicly we love this deal, and if you have something you like better, you better get it up here fast. I mean, that could end this process very quickly. It just hasn't happened,
I would say that's true if you knew there were only 1 or 2 other teams involved, and you knew that they weren't going to come close to matching it. I think the fact that there are teams with the money and have the need and the desire, I think you can use the time that you've been allotted to play it up a little bit. And from the Yankees standpoint, I know that they have, to my knowledge, they haven't made the formal offer, but they've made everybody aware of what they're willing to do for Tanaka. They've gone to great expense, as other teams have, to scout and learn everything they can about the guy. And now it's come down to make him the offer and see if he accepts. And the problem here is that other teams have money to spend too. That's why it's not cut and dried. Yankees get their guy and everybody goes home. We play this out.
Yeah, and the question is, what do the Yankees do if they don't get him?
What the Yankees do, here's the other thing that's hanging out there, Mike. You have Garza, you have Ubaldo Jimenez, you have Irvin Santana. These guys are still lurking, trying to get their big money. To my knowledge,
not great pitches though.
No, and to my knowledge, the Yankees have kind of all winter long. I've been asking at different times about this. The Yankees are not of the mind to fall back to any of those guys. If they don't get Tanaka. If they don't get Tanaka, they're not going to go around and go ahead and spend $15 to $20 million on one of those guys. They're going to knock it back and try to fill the back of the rotation a little bit in-house and a little bit with the type of deals that they struck a couple of years ago with Garcia and Colon.
How do they fill in the front of the rotation?
Say it again?
How do they fill in the front of the rotation?
Yeah, the front of the rotation has to come with Sabathia, Kuroda, and Nova then. That's
when you look at the Yankees.
Why? Because Mike, the front of the rotation guy's not out there. Tanaka's the only one there.
So what the Yankees are saying that it's all or nothing for this season. I mean, because let's be honest, if they don't have Tanaka, the Yankees don't have a top-level pitching staff, and the Yankees are going in with a suspect bullpen for the first time in a generation.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes with no matter what Robinson's role is.
Anybody.
It doesn't matter. They still
you're like
are going
everybody else. You didn't used to be. Now you're like everybody else.
You're like everybody else at best, and you know what? You're not even sure. God forbid anything. Robinson fails, now you have no bullpen.
Right.
And you are going in right now where, you don't have off last year, you don't have a genuine ace on the staff, and you don't. If you can say even put CC in the 1 or the 2 hole, you can't even guarantee you have anybody else you can put in the top of the rotation, and you're not even sure you can put CC anymore in the top of the rotation. This Yankee pitching staff could be an enormous issue for this team this year.
Here, I'll put it to you this way, though, Mike. If you don't get Tanaka, who do you want to go out and get?
Well, it depends what I got to pay. I mean, listen, it depends what I have to. I mean, I got to kick the tires on everybody at that point to see. Now,
but the available guys are not the type of guys you're talking about.
No. But listen, everybody's acceptable at a certain price. But they can all price themselves out of the market. So.
I think that's what's happening. That's my point, really, is that they're not willing to pay the price for those guys, to pay them as one or two.
I mean, I can also sign Bronson Arroyo for a year and bring him in, or 2 years, and give him a fair amount of money and put him in. He'll pitch innings. I mean, I know that, and he'll try hard, but he's not going to be a top of the rotation pitcher for you.
No,
and he hasn't signed yet either. Which is interesting.
No, he's out there. Yeah, these guys. I think a lot of it is, the teams that. I think some of these agents are probably doing it on purpose too, because they know that there are a number of teams in on Tanaka, and when they're not, they're going to have to fall back on some of these other guys.
Absolutely, and they're going to get jobs. And all these guys are going to get jobs. We understand that. Sure. But if the Yankees are trying to hit the home run here, and they had a guy to the front of the rotation, they have one chance to do that. And who knows? Maybe Tanaka's not going to be great next year anyway. Who knows? Right. But the point is, they have a guy who's coming off a major season, who people believe is the front of the rotation pitcher. Otherwise, let's be honest, the Yankees are going in there with anything but a championship-level pitching staff.
Yeah, I believe that they've put all their eggs in this basket with the idea that they do need some improvement again from Nova, who showed flashes but has been inconsistent, and a big rebound from Sabathia, who we talked about him all year long, Mike. You just always felt, I did anyway, that the next start was going to be the one where he turned it around, because he had that look in his eye like everything's healthy now. Why isn't it coming together? And I think the idea that he put forward late in the season, after it was over, he finally kind of came to grips with the idea that he's not getting that velocity back, and that he has to be able to just live with that, because I think he kept trying to create it in various ways last season, and it just never worked.